Ever since my husband died, his relatives threw me out of our home. They said I had no right to inherit anything from the family.
I can't do this. Take care of her.
A 12-year-old girl and her grandmother spent their days collecting discarded plastic bottles instead of sitting in a classroom. She had one dream: to become a doctor. One stranger chose to help her when everyone else walked away. Years later, destiny brought them together again in a way neither of them could have imagined. Stay until the end, because this story proves that one act of kindness can change lives forever.
Please, sir, can you help us?
We're begging you, please.
Most people looked at them for only a second before walking away. Then one man stopped. Instead of ignoring them, he walked over and gently asked what had happened.
Please, can you help us?
What happened? Why are you sitting here? Why is this little girl collecting bottles instead of being in school?
We have nothing. We had to. Ever since my husband died, his relatives threw me out of our home. They said I had no right to inherit anything from the family. My daughter couldn't cope with the hardship. One morning, she left her child with me and disappeared.
I can't do this. Take care of her.
Everything is going to be fine, ma'am.
The businessman listened quietly. Then he looked at the little girl and asked what she wanted most in life. Without hesitation, she answered with a dream far bigger than her circumstances. She wanted to go to school. She wanted to become a doctor. Not because she wanted wealth or fame, but because she never wanted another poor family to lose someone simply because they couldn't afford medical care. Those words struck the man deeply. They reminded him of the younger sister he had lost years earlier because his own family couldn't afford proper treatment. At that moment, he made a decision that would change all of their lives forever. He took the grandmother and the little girl to a nearby restaurant and bought them their first proper meal in days.
Grandma, is all this really for us?
Yes. Go ahead, eat.
God sent you to us today.
Afterward, he rented a small home for them, filled it with food, bought them clothes, and made sure they had everything they needed to start over.
Pick whatever you need here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
God bless you so much.
You're very welcome.
What are we doing here? Whose house is this?
It's yours.
You're giving us a home?
Every child deserves a safe place to sleep.
The following morning, he enrolled the little girl in school, promising himself that her dream would not end on the streets. Neither of them knew that this simple act of kindness was planting a seed that would one day come back to save his own life.
I've never looked like this before.
Get used to it. You're going to school. Your beginning doesn't decide your future. Your determination does.
In 6 years' time, she graduated as the best student in the best college with scholarships to any nursing school of her choice.
I'm so happy to be the best graduating student.
The scholarship letter changed everything. For a few moments, the young girl stood frozen, reading the words over and over again. It didn't feel real. The same child who had once searched through piles of rubbish for plastic bottles had just been accepted into one of the country's best medical schools. Tears streamed down her face as she hugged her grandmother. The elderly woman cried just as hard. For years, they had prayed for this moment, never knowing if it would ever come. The businessman stood quietly nearby, watching them with a smile. He had always believed this day would come. He simply said, "I told you your past wouldn't decide your future." A few weeks later, the young woman packed her belongings and left for college. As the bus pulled away, she looked out of the window at her grandmother and the businessman waving goodbye. She whispered to herself, "I won't let either of you down." Medical school was nothing like she had imagined. The classes were harder. The days were longer. The pressure was overwhelming. Many nights she studied until sunrise before walking straight into another full day of lectures. Some students came from wealthy families. They drove expensive cars and never had to worry about money. Although her tuition had been paid through the scholarship, there were still books to buy, transportation costs, and everyday expenses. Rather than complain, she found a part-time job at the university library. She spent her mornings in class, her evenings working, and most nights studying. Sleep became a luxury. Even during the toughest days, she never forgot where she had come from. Whenever she felt exhausted, she remembered the little girl who used to collect plastic bottles under the hot sun. If that little girl could survive those days, she could survive anything. One afternoon, while working at the hospital during her clinical training, an elderly woman was brought into the emergency room. She looked frightened and weak. The young medical student immediately recognized something familiar in her eyes. It reminded her of her own grandmother. She gently held the woman's hand and stayed beside her until the doctors completed their examination. The elderly woman smiled through her pain. "You remind me of my granddaughter," she whispered. Those simple words stayed with the young woman for the rest of the day. She realized that being a doctor wasn't only about treating illness. As graduation drew closer, life took an unexpected turn. One evening, the grandmother collapsed at home. The businessman rushed her to the hospital. The young woman left school immediately and traveled home. Doctors explained that the elderly woman had developed a serious heart condition. Although she was receiving treatment, her health continued to decline. The young woman spent every free moment sitting beside her hospital bed. One evening, the grandmother reached for her hand. "My child," she said softly, "promise me something." The young woman nodded, holding back tears. "No matter how successful you become, never forget the people who are suffering the way we once suffered." She couldn't speak. She simply nodded. A few days later, the grandmother peacefully passed away. The loss shattered her. For several weeks, she couldn't concentrate on her studies. Every classroom reminded her of the sacrifices her grandmother had made. Every hospital corridor reminded her why she had chosen medicine. She thought about giving up. One evening, she sat alone outside the medical school, staring at the sky. The businessman found her sitting there. Without saying a word, he sat beside her. After a long silence, she finally spoke.
I can't believe this happened.
"I don't think I can do this anymore." He looked at her calmly. "Why?" "I'm tired." She paused. "The one person who believed in me from the beginning is gone." The businessman smiled gently. "No." She looked at him. "She isn't gone." She frowned. "What do you mean?" He pointed toward the hospital. "Every patient you help will carry a part of her kindness." The young woman wiped away her tears. He continued. "She didn't spend her life keeping you alive so you could quit when things became difficult." Those words gave her strength. The next morning, she returned to class. She studied harder than ever before. Months later, graduation day finally arrived. The auditorium was filled with families celebrating their loved ones. When her name was called, the audience stood and applauded. The businessman was the first person on his feet. As she walked across the stage to receive her medical degree,
Congratulations, you did it.
Thank you. I did it.
she looked toward the empty seat that had been reserved for her grandmother. Although tears filled her eyes, she smiled. She knew the elderly woman would have been proud. Soon after graduation, she accepted a position at one of the city's largest hospitals. She threw herself into her work. Patients admired her kindness. Nurses respected her dedication. People began asking for her by name because they knew she listened before she treated. Then, on a stormy evening, everything changed. An ambulance raced through the hospital entrance with its sirens blaring. Paramedics rushed a critically ill man into the emergency room. Doctors and nurses hurried into action. She picked up the patient's medical chart and glanced at the name, Her heart skipped a beat. She looked through the emergency room doors. The moment she saw the man's face, time seemed to stand still. It was the businessman who had stopped to help a little girl collecting plastic bottles all those years ago. Now, his life rested in her hands. If you find this story interesting, please send to a friend and leave a positive comment.